Hey, it's 3:15 Eastern Time. I'm Todd Thomas from Todd-Thomas.com, and it is time at same time of day, Monday through Friday. This time we get together for our study of the book Psycho-Cybernetics. It is one of my favorite self-improvement books. It is very much considered the self-improvement guide going back for years, back to the early 60s. Hey, PJ, how you doing? And I saw somebody else jump on there. Todd Thomas from Todd-Thomas.com. It's time for our study of psycho-cybernetics, and we're studying the ingredients of the success type personality. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around here and get it. So I get the camera turned around. I get it set kind of on. I have a mic. I almost said mic stand. A camera stand here that I use. And boom, there we go. So it's nice and steady. Again, my name is Todd Thomas from Todd-Thomas.com. We study the book Psycho-Cybernetics. We're going through it. We're about halfway through, actually. This is episode number 54. Hey, Mimi, how are you doing? Good to see you. Doesn't seem like I've seen you for a while. Good to see you again. Thank you for the hearts, too. We're about halfway through the book. This is episode 54. 54. So we're moving right along, and I've got a really great plan for once we get to the end of this, where we're going to go. So anyway, we're in chapter 8, which is ingredients of the success type personality and how to acquire them. And the ingredients, as he wrote them in his book, are listed as an acronym for the word success. So we have success, and we've gone through these three so far: sense of direction, understanding, and courage. Today's C is what we're going through today, called charity. It's not really long, but it's really, really good stuff. I was rereading it again, as I usually do beforehand, and a really awesome prescription for helping you along with applying it to your life. So, Todd Thomas from Todd-Thomas.com. You guys that are on right now, I want you to do me a favor and swipe to the side or swipe up to whichever works for you on your phone, and share the broadcast with your followers. Share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, wherever it is. If you guys wouldn't mind, do a little bit of sharing, and let's see if we can expand the audience a little bit. I know my buddy, Mr. Relentless Jim, is going to be by any moment. He always shares and brings a bunch of people, so you can as well. By the way, I also simulcast this. So obviously I'm live on Periscope, but I simulcast it on a conference call. And that conference call number is right here, 641-715-3580. Access code 721-669#. So if you dial this number, 641-715-3580, and then enter 721-669#, you'll be live on the conference call. Now, the advantage of that is that, yeah, you can listen. You don't see, but you can listen through the phone. But it gives you the opportunity to ask me a question that might be more detailed than what would be so cumbersome to typing into Periscope. And also, if not just a question, you're welcome to make comments. That certainly would be faster and easier and less cumbersome than typing them in on Periscope as well, and in your own voice and making your own voice heard. If for some reason you don't want to do that, no big deal. Just listen or watch. And if you want to talk to me personally, you can always drop by my website, Todd-Thomas.com. I've set it up really easy. If you just go by there, there's a button in the bottom right-hand corner where you can schedule a phone call with me. You can jump right onto my schedule. No obligation whatsoever. I just love talking to people about their goals, their reasons for their goals, and their challenges. So anyway, here we go. Psycho-Cybernetics, the ingredients of a success-type personality. This one today is our second letter C, which is for charity. Charity. And this is what he has to say here. For a time, I gave a lecture titled, How to Have Self-Respect in a Disrespectful World. Just as the world of accelerating stress isn't, that's an understatement, isn't it? Is this world accelerating in stress? Just as the world is accelerating a stress that I observed in the late 1950s and 60s. He talks about the accelerating stress in the 50s and 60s. But he goes on to say that was a kindergarten compared to today's frenetic pace. The growing lack of civility and respect I noticed in the 1960s and 1970s was only a modest preview of today's world. That's an understatement.
Daily living is a virtual assault on self-respect. As the companies we deal with treat us as numbers in the computer, individual tradespeople, store clerks, waiters, and the like are too often rushed, harried, rude, and unhappy in their jobs, and they take it out on the customer often, and often we cannot even get through to a human being by telephone. Everywhere, as the pace is quickened, civility has been sacrificed. That's a shame, but it just is what it is. There he is. Mr. Relentless is in the house. Bam, Jill, see, look, boom, he's already invited his followers. So thanks a lot, Jim. I was encouraging others that were on to invite as well. And Miss Lucy and Rock and Natalie, and I see all of you that are joining. Thanks for joining. We are, what's up, brother? We are talking about charity, one of the ingredients of success type personality, and how to acquire them. And this one we're talking about today is charity. Reading on here, all this makes my original comments all the more important. In my lecture, I said that the disrespectful world is made better or worse minute by minute for each individual participant in it in a mirror reflection of two things. The person, our own self-image, and our respect for others. Man, wouldn't you agree with that? That this world is made better or worse minute by minute based on the reflection of two things: the self-respect and self-image we have for ourselves and the respect that we show for others. Successful personalities have interest in and regard for other people. They have a respect for others' problems and needs. They respect the dignity of human personality and deal with other people as if they were human beings rather than as pawns in their own game. Boy, I think that's so important that we do that. You know, that we treat people. It's the famous old Todd. Todd is off the chain, y'all. Invite to share. Thanks, Jim. It's so important that we treat people the way that we want to be treated. How long have we heard that growing up? Reading on. They recognize, successful people, he says, recognize that every person is a child of God and is a unique individual that deserves some dignity and respect. Man, I can't really say it better than that. It is a psychological fact that our feelings about ourselves tend to correspond to our feelings about other people. Interesting. When a person begins to feel more charitable towards others, he invariably, or she, begins to feel more charitable towards himself. People who feel that persons who feel that people are not important cannot have very much deep down respect and regard for themselves. One of the best known methods of getting over a feeling of guilt: treat others the way that you want to be treated. This is why I pay employees an extra $3 an hour. I think it's out of my own pocket. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It is a tremendous example. That is a tremendous example. Thank you for sharing that. Going above and beyond to help relieve stress and help people be happier in their lives. It's incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Say your first name. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Yeah, call in. Do you remember the number? 641-715-3580. 641-715-3580. Access code 721-669-pound. Yeah, do it, man. I'd love that. Yeah, give Mr. Relentless a bam. Yeah, there you go. He's going to be on live on the phone here with me in just a few minutes. Reading on here, just not too much farther to go, actually. Let's see, where did we leave off? One of the best known methods of getting over a feeling of guilt. You're right, he is. One of the best known methods of getting over a feeling of guilt is to stop condemning other people in your own mind. Stop judging them. Stop blaming them. Stop hating them for their mistakes. We know we must make mistakes, right? Other people make mistakes too. We've got to learn to forgive and let it go. Move on. You will develop a better and more adequate self-image, and we all need that. Listen, one of the secrets to reaching your goals is to have a bigger and healthier self-image, because you will not long outperform the image that you have of yourself. I tell my athletes that all the time. When I train my athletes, I tell them you will never permanently or consistently outperform the image that you have of yourself. Okay, I will. That pertains to all of us in our lives. You will not long outperform the image that you have of yourself. If you do for a period of time, eventually that willpower and determination will give out, and your image will snap back to its original size. So we've got to grow our self-images. So going back to this, you will develop a better and more adequate self-image when you begin to feel that other people are more worthy. Isn't that interesting? You'll grow your self-image by feeling that other people are more worthy. Another reason that charity towards other people is symptomatic of the successful personality is that it means that the person is dealing with reality. People are important. People cannot for long be treated like animals or machines or as pawns to secure personal ends. They just won't stand for it. They won't support you, and they'll move on. And everyone is important, yes. Last short paragraph, couple sentences, and then the prescription, and then we'll go to the phone. If you want to jump, Jim's going to jump on the phone. If you would like to also, dial the number 641-715-3580 and then enter the access code 721-669-pound. Treating everyone with respect is charity because it is not always instantly, individually reciprocated. And if you do it for instant reciprocation, you got to question your motives, don't you? That's not what charity really is all about. It isn't. You cannot view it as a transaction. You cannot review it transactionally. Instead, you must see the big picture and act in this manner as a means of strengthening your own self-image. So in a way, it's selfish, but in a good way. You have to do it for other people, not for thanks. That is right. And what he's saying here is that in some way, it can be a selfish motive, but a good one in that you're growing your own self-image, which helps you and other people again as well. So it just keeps that circle of good flowing. So that part of it, as I would agree with what he's saying right here for sure, is that the charity you show towards others helps you strengthen your own self-image and as your contribution to society in general. Now, here's the prescription that he has to help us along right here from Psycho-Cybernetics. The prescription for charity, he says, is threefold. Number one, try to develop a genuine appreciation for other people by realizing the truth about them. They are children of God, unique personalities, creative beings. Number two, take the trouble to stop and think of the other person's feelings, viewpoints, desires, and needs. Think more of what the other fellow wants and how he must feel. A friend of mine kids his wife by telling her, whenever she asks him, do you love me? Yes, he says, whenever I stop and think about it. And he goes on to say, there's a lot of truth in this. We cannot feel anything about other people unless we stop and think about them. Isn't that interesting? I know that's kind of a funny anecdote, but that is a powerful message right there, that we really cannot feel anything about other people so much unless we stop and think about them. Number three, I'm going to share a quick story from this morning, then we'll go to the phone and bring Jim on. So Jim, if you haven't called in already, and I think maybe you have, because I hear the music stop, I'll come to you in just a minute. Act as if other people are more important and treat them accordingly. That's prescription number three for charity and increasing the charity in your life and towards others. This morning, back to point number two, take the trouble to stop and think of other people's feelings, viewpoints, desires, and needs. Stop and think about them. I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back. It's just something, I just did this. It's not something I thought about. I just I was driving up the street from my house, and there was a lady in front of me, and a dog dashed in front of her car, and she hit the dog. And she pulled over, and then I pulled over, and I got out to check on the dog, and she came back just frantically. I mean, she just felt so incredibly bad. And the dog was alive for a short time, but he did pass from the accident this morning. And that hurts. And it looks so much like my own dog. I thought, oh my goodness, it's not my dog, but it looks so much like it. But I felt so bad for her. I had no idea her name. I still don't. I didn't, say who I am or what I just stopped to help her and comfort her and tell her it wasn't her fault, to get her to feel better. She was feeling pretty bad, and I don't know whether that really helped or not. I think my stopping did help, because I know that she was on the phone or got on the phone with a friend and was saying that, that a man had stopped and was there with her while she was, waiting for the animal control, and she did call 911. I'm not sure who would arrive there, but sometimes we just have to stop. I was on my way to a meeting, and I was going to be on time. I ended up being late, but sometimes you just got to stop and think of other people. And I didn't stop and go, I'm going to stop and think of this lady. I just did it. It just did it. And it does feel good that I think I helped her. But that's what he's talking about here. That's what he's talking about. Sometimes we just have to stop and think about other people and their feelings and their viewpoints and desires and their needs. So that's our study for today. Let's go to the phone here. I think my buddy Jim. Are you on the phone, Jim?
What's up, Todd Thomas? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I am doing fantastic. I just related somewhat of a sad story from this morning, and as I think back on it, I still feel bad. One, for the dog, it looked just like my dog. It wouldn't matter, but it did. And, sometimes things like that happen and makes you think. And, I feel bad for the little animal and for the lady that hit him, and she had no way of avoiding him. But I don't know. I just stopped and just to, kind of be there for her. And,
yes, that makes a difference.
It does. And so what do you think about some of the things we're talking about and charity, how we need to be more charitable towards other people, and how that can actually help us grow our own self-image as well?
Absolutely, Todd. I got two things I took away from your scope. I mean, a whole lot more, but two things in particular that I would like to talk about in particular. One is the individuality, just knowing who you are and not letting go of that. You hear the phrase, have no regrets. Have no regrets. Does that mean to, not regret some of the things you've done or some of the things you've said? I don't think so. What I think have no regrets means is all the things that you've gone through in life, you learn from those things, and you are able to know what to do next time. You also grow from all the mistakes that you make. So, I've made a few mistakes in my life, and I've learned from them. So I'm thinking of making a few more. One of the phrases that I have on 90DPC, which is on Facebook, it's a Periscope area where you can share some of the things. And I don't know if you know, Todd, but I have posted one of your videos on that page in particular to let everybody know they've got to learn from you. Some of the things you share are amazing. Now, back to the individuality, there is, like for myself, I know, as you heard my story, I shared my story yesterday in regards to, at the age of 18, I became homeless, walking the streets of Las Vegas, Nevada, sleeping on casino lawns, and having people walk by me and whisper, and say things about me. I had a beard that was down to my chest and long hair down to my shoulders. I just looked nasty, and I had a little dog with me, and it was, a pathetic time in my life. And I remember a lady and her young daughter walking, and they crossed the road walk down the sidewalk and cross back just to make sure that they didn't cross paths with me. So I remember that time of my life. And so now that ties into the charity part. In other words, I won't forget who I was or what I was at one time. But knowing who I am today, remembering who I was and where I've been and what I've been through, today my wife and I like to go and meet with homeless people, talk with them, and I did an interview on Periscope with a homeless man and asked what he was grateful for, and you wouldn't believe some of the things that this man poured out of his heart. And one of the things that he said was that he is appreciative of socks. You know, my wife did research and found that one of the things that is least given to the homeless that is most needed is socks. They don't get any socks. Granted. But because of the fact of being charitable to the homeless, it helps me remind myself who I was, what I went through when I was homeless, and knowing that I'm able to give back to the homeless now, it's to me more of an obligation of my individuality as well as just a charitable deed. I just feel that sense of urgency for the people that don't have anybody in their life. And one of the things that the homeless man said was he heard more about God and Jesus during the time of him being homeless than he ever did before he was homeless, and he was homeless since 2009. So he said his dad had passed away and the bank took the house. So when that happened, he went homeless and has been homeless ever since. But he made friends in the homeless community that he said he will never forget. That some of the best friendships he ever had was with homeless folks. So we tend to forget that there are homeless people homeless people are just that. They're people. And, we forget that. But there's other charitable avenues that we can also be charitable in other avenues of our life. So I'm not saying serve the homeless is what some people might use as their charity, but charity is giving back to others without expecting anything in return, knowing the sense and the feel of being able to do something for somebody else and not expecting anything back. And this is not to impress anybody, but to impress upon others the feeling you get from being charitable. I remember going through a subway line, and I've done this several occasions, but one in particular, I remember the cashier. When I got to the cashier at a Subway, I paid for my sandwich, and I left an extra $10, and I said, "Hey, make sure to pay for her sandwich too, thanks." And the lady's like, "Okay, thanks." Pulled the money. And didn't say anything at all, but I know the lady behind me was blessed that day, not being able to see who I am, not knowing who I was, and I walked out giving back. So in other words, what I'm trying to say with charity is that feeling of knowing you've done something for somebody else makes you feel absolutely good, especially when nobody knows you're doing it. So you as an individual, the things you do for who you are makes you a stronger individual in all passions and areas of life. And I use a phrase, Todd, and I don't mean to take up your time, but your topic today was just on point. I love it. And I hope you allow me to share this broadcast as well on that page.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I share with everybody is that if you don't expand, you become expendable and you will expire. If you don't expand, and what that means is you as an individual, who you are, keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming better your best, keep becoming better and better with each and every day, each and every relationship. Those that are married, those that are dating, make sure that you are doing all that you can to make your spouse, your partner, your friend feel important each and every day and each and every opportunity you can. With your kids, same thing. With your friends, your relatives, your siblings, make sure you make phone calls that are just to say hello, how are you, just thinking about you, wanted to call and reach out to you. Those are charitable acts as well. And so individuality and charity, I think, go hand in hand. Becoming a better person, knowing that you can do things for other people, and it doesn't always have to revolve around money. It's a matter of being a giving individual makes you feel better about who you are and what you do, especially when nobody knows you're doing it.
Those of you that are watching on Periscope, just so you know, in case you're wondering, I'm simulcasting this on a conference call, and jumping on the conference call with me is a lot of you that are here. We're invited by this guy. You may recognize his voice. It's our good friend Jim Beach, Mr. Relentless. Bam to Jim. Thanks for joining. So in case you were wondering, who's that voice? It sounds familiar. They're not seeing your face. of course, Jim. They're just hearing your voice. So, man, that is so awesome what you shared right there, and I love the story about the visiting with the homeless man and the things that he poured out to you in terms of what he's grateful for. And that's something that we need to do really every day, is to think about those things that we're grateful for and show a gratitude in all that we are, and understand, like you said, everyone is we're all people. We all have, feelings and desires and needs. And sometimes, like I was talking about, pay it forward, that Search Moms was saying there, is that sometimes we have to just stop and think about them. I just to relate that quick anecdote again, that Dr. Maltz wrote in the book about the friend that has his wife. He kids his wife by telling her, well, she asks him, "Do you love me?" And he says, "Yes, whenever I stop and think about it." And, he's just kind of kidding around with her. But, he goes on to write, there's a lot of truth in that, because we cannot feel things about other people unless we stop and think about them. And so when we stop and think about, the people like you're talking about and certain situations, then we can truly feel about them. So sometimes we need to stop and think. By the way, here's the number. If anybody else wants to jump on the phone, 641-715. 641-715-3580, and then the access code 721-669-pound. Let's just see if has anybody else jumped on? If you have, say your name. So it doesn't sound like anybody else has jumped on the phone, and that's fine. You know what? If they do, we'll hear a beep. So, yeah.
Hey, Todd, ma'am, say something else.
You sure?
All right. I don't know how many people you've got viewing right now, but I want to say this for Todd, and Todd didn't ask for this, and Todd's probably not expecting this, but I definitely want you guys to make sure to invite your followers for Todd. I absolutely think the things he's been sharing day in and day out relentlessly is something that everybody needs to hear. This Psycho-Cybernetics, it's just an amazing book of content, but Todd's feedback on that book is absolutely something we all need. So I would share and invite followers. But here's the thing I'm saying that I want to say is somebody else call in and give your feedback. And if nothing else, just call in and ask a question. This is a great thing that I have not seen done on Periscope yet. And Todd Thomas is doing it. So somebody else call in. You guys follow Todd if you're not following him now. He's an amazing individual, a great friend to have, I promise you.
Wow. Yeah, Jim, thanks a lot, man. That means a lot. That means a lot coming from you, and I appreciate that. You almost made me chuckle there. Bam, boom, bing. So there's a bam from Bailey on Periscope. You almost made me chuckle when you said that I was relentless in doing this, and I have been. I've followed in the footsteps of relentlessness by being like Mr. Relentless, and just continuing to do these every day. Even when there was one or two people, and then I've had a bunch more people. It comes and goes, but lately it's growing, and with your presence and your help and people inviting, it's certainly helped. And thank you again for what you said about me as far as the book goes. I've read this book. I've lost track. I think I've mentioned this. I've actually lost track of how many times I've read it. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 times. So I consider myself somewhat of an expert on it. And so that's why when I go through it, I often, I don't know if you've noticed, Jim, but sometimes I'll be reading something and I'll stop and I'll make a comment. And then when I pick back up to read, I'll read exactly what was just about to be written in the book. Mike was asking, hey, Todd, can I call in? Absolutely, Mike. Here's the number.
Call in, Mike. Call in.
Here's the number, 641-715-3580. The number on the top, 641-715-3580. And then you put in this access code, 721-669, and then hit the pound sign. Did somebody else call in? Did you hear somebody jump on, Jim?
I think so.
If you came on, go ahead and say your name. Now, you might need to hit *6 to unmute yourself. But, Jim, when you came on, you didn't need to unmute yourself, right? You just You just
No,
started
it was
talking.
completely open.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So,
In fact, when you call in, it prompts you to announce yourself right before it clicks on.
okay. Mike's asking for the code, please. 721-669-pound. So I think Mike's getting ready to call in. 721-669-pound. I'm holding it up in front of the screen so they can see it on Periscope.
Nice. How many people do you have on right now?
Well, it's dropped down to 4. This is the number that's showing at the moment. But we consistently had a pretty good number. Some people, you never know. Sometimes people have to go. But that's where we're at the moment.
Well, Todd, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I check my replays and I noticed that there are sometimes 15 to 20 people that are watching from the web, which means they're on their desktop and they can't comment and they can't, add heart, but they're watching. So sometimes that might be the case as well.
Well, and Bailey, it looks like Bailey, I think it is, just commented, says, I'm here, it keeps freezing. And so that number probably comes and goes. So, hey, Mike, did you make it on the line? I think he was trying, but Mike, if you're on the line, go ahead and say hello. Well, I'll give him another minute or so and see if he makes it on. I know he was trying, and maybe, I don't know if there's some sort, but you didn't have any challenges, right? You just dialed the number, dialed the code, and got right in?
Yes, it worked just fine for me.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, too, Jim, is that I have a list, like, and I know that Periscope has viewers all over the world, and those that are outside of the U.S. will not be able to use that number. But if they just tell me what country they're calling from, that they would be calling in from, I can give them their number to call from their country so that they could join the conversation. So I don't know that applies to Mike. Oh, you are? You said that you're on, Mike? Mike just put a message on that he's on, but I'm not hearing anything. Go ahead and say hello, Mike. You might hit *6. You might be muted.
I wonder if I need to jump off. Todd, let me go ahead and jump off.
Well,
I will go back to Periscope.
Well, okay, instead of just completely jumping off, and you can jump if you want, you can hit *6, and let's see if that allows Mike on. What's going on? Okay, I'm not sure. He had a typo in a message, so he can't figure out what kind of glitch is happening there. So no big deal. I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap it up for today. Thanks for jumping on, Jim. That was awesome. You added so much to the show, and the topic of charity and how that is one of the ingredients of a success type personality is the compassion and charity as part of your personality. If that's part of who you are, that is an ingredient that you have that is an ingredient of a success type personality. And so tomorrow, 3:15 Eastern time, we'll be back. Yes, that's the number, Mike. I'm still on. So if I hear you jump on, I'll go to you. 721-669, then you hit the pound sign. Tomorrow on the show, esteem. We're going to talk about esteem, and that will be letter number 4 in the success acronym, and one of the ingredients of a success type personality. Esteem looks like it's a pretty good amount of material and a very good lengthy prescription on how to apply it. So tomorrow should be great. Are you on, Mike? I try but can't get through. Okay, that's fine. Let's try another day. I'm not muted there. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you. I appreciate your effort. Why don't you try again tomorrow and let's see what happens. I will shoot you a message and make sure that the number and the access code and everything was right, and we'll try again another day. But anyway, cool, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for being here. I jumped off. Yeah, thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that. So, Jim, Mr. Relentless, thanks for being here and inviting everybody that you did. My name's Todd Thomas from todd-thomas.com, goals and results coach. And if you would like to talk, perhaps on Periscope, you don't want to make a comment. Perhaps on the phone, you don't want to get on and say something where everybody wants to hear, but you have a question you would like to ask me, you have a comment or something you would like to discuss with me personally, well, you can do that. You can go to my website, todd-thomas.com. Jim is going to scope next. Okay, so let's make sure we jump on Jim's scope here in just a second. So you go to my website, todd-thomas.com, and then there's a way for you to get on my calendar and schedule a phone call with me. No obligation. I love talking to people about their goals, what their challenges are, and the reasons for their goals. And so anyway, if you want to talk to me that way, you can do that too. Last thing, and I'll wrap up as I usually do with this. Anything you want to accomplish in life, anything, ultimately boils down to the mind game. It's the mind game. You just have to ask yourself, am I winning the mind game or am I losing it? If you haven't quite figured out how to win and dominate at the mind game, it's okay. Most haven't. But if you're ready to learn how to win and dominate at the mind game for massive goal achievement and success, then we need to talk. And you can reach out to me through my website, todd-thomas.com. Todd Thomas, make it a great, what do I say? Make it a great now. Make it a great now, because really, that's all we have. See you guys later.